Like, they don't even know how to act like they fought because they couldn't even just sit down and be like, yeah, let's just do it how we normally do.
God, Kubrick owns.
They probably communicated exclusively through their assistants or something.
Yeah, through pheromones.
The first time.
They would just.
This is the first time they ever had to communicate verbally.
Leak weird chemicals, and they have they hook themselves up to multimeters and read voltages to figure out what moods are in.
Oh, she's a quart low.
So before Tom Cruise can have a threesome with these two models, one of Ziegler's sort of flunkies is just like, excuse me, sir, like Mr. Ziegler has something he'd like to talk to you about upstairs. And he's like, okay, I'll see you ladies later. And he, goes up this like beautifully lit marble staircase. And then it's just like a hard cut to a completely naked woman passed out in his like dressing room. She is OD'd. Ziegler is there like shirtless but still having suspenders on.
Oh, he's putting them on.
He's putting them on.
Clearly nude, and
he was nude.
dressed.
And there's something about him being shirtless with his tuxedo suspenders on that was like, it's very disturbing.
Yeah.
And he gets Tom Cruise in there, and he's like, buddy, I got a problem. It's like a boogie nights. Like, you think you better get some new shit there? Think she's got a problem? Do you, doctor? So he's had like a woman OD on like a speedball, and he's like, yeah, I just need you to take care of this for me. And you begin to see again what Tom Cruise's character's relation to real wealth and power actually is, that he's sort of not aware of. He's just like, I get to go to cool parties because I'm a doctor, But like his relationship to Victor Ziegler is no different than the woman who just OD'd.
Right, yes.
Like, he provides a service for these people. Like, he is a tool for them to be used. And again, he uses his amazing medical skills to just kind of be like, hello, what's your name? You all right there? Just sort of like shakes her shoulder, be like, puts a wet towel on her head or whatever. And it's just like, and he's like, yeah, she'll probably be okay. Like,
most people from Columbus, Ohio, know more about treating someone who OD'd than Tom Cruise's character does in this movie.
Yeah, you never really figure out. I mean, I guess he's like just a general practitioner, but at one point they show him in his office and he's just looking at a woman's tits. And then he's like, okay, everything checks out.
Got 2 nipples?
Yeah.
Nice.
So he helps out Ziegler, and he's like basically like, can I get rid of her? And he's like, oh, I'd keep her around for another hour. And Ziegler's like really pissed off by that. He's like, fuck, really? And he's like, okay, I'll just get someone to take her home. So he just like, just taking out the trash basically. Yeah. So the party's over. They go home, and then while looking in a mirror, standing up, have sex.
Maybe. I mean, they kind of grab each other.
They do boob stuff.
They touch. I think that's as far as you can assume they went.
Yeah.
They're at most getting naked and just kind of touching one another.
Well, I like to imagine that that George Thorogood that's playing, they put on.
It's Chris Isaac. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yes, the baby did a bad thing.
Okay, yeah.
And that would be funny if it was Bad to the Bone.
I remember Bad to the Bone.
He's just slowly stroking her nipples. I want that old Tom rock and roll.
Hey, you want to put on Bob Seger and fuck?
We're making some night moves, baby. So that night ends. Their day begins, and again, you see Tom Cruise going about his daily routine as a fancy New York City doctor. Which, as Nick already mentioned, the first thing you see him do is there's just again in it like a incredibly gorgeous woman in his office, and he's just checking out her tits, and he's like, "Yep,
that was
nice weight, looking good, yeah." Feeling good.
She's like, am I a bitch? He's like, I can't tell you.
Nicole Kidman is at home, basically, just kind of, I don't know, being sort of like a housewife. She's wrapping presents for it's Christmas time, looking after their daughter, go about their daily routines. They come home at night, wrap some packages. Tom Cruise in that scene is wearing Ugg boots, which is odd to think about because this movie came out in 1997. Again, you have to ask yourself, what did Stanley Kubrick know?
Yeah.
About power and the future.
They were not popular back then. I'd never heard of them.
Marlon Brando died in those boots. Pretty much.
So, just Uggs and a diaper, huh?
Also, his costume in Dial into Dr. Moreau.
Then we get to what is the sort of inciting incident of this film, which is one of the funniest scenes I think ever filmed.
Yeah.
So it begins with Nicole Kidman goes into her medicine cabinet, and hidden in a box of Band-Aids is like a dime bag of just straight shake. Just like she bought it in Washington Square Park.
That's kill. If the weed is just like a green powder, that's fucking kill.
It looks like oregano.
Yes.
She rolls a joint, and her and Tom Cruise proceed to enact probably the most ludicrous impression of people on weed ever put to film. So bad that, again, like with Kubrick, I think you have to assume that this is intentional.
Yeah, there's no other explanation. Like Nick said, he was famous for doing millions of takes.
Yeah.
It's not like Eastwood. Eastwood does 2 takes maximum because he's afraid he's going to die before the movie is produced every time. He's done so many takes, he has to have picked the one he wanted.
Apparently on Eyes Wide Shut, he made Tom Cruise walk through a doorway like 50 times.
That's
for one
fucking-
shot.
Oh, that's so. He's just like he's Windy City Heat for Tom Cruise. He's so fucking cool.
So like even if it was just to fuck with him, he still had to pick the scene, you know? He had to pick the take.
But the idea is like the way their performances feel so mannered and like alien in a way. It's just like a sort of a product of the way he really like sort of deprograms and breaks them down, so that by the 400th take, their performance is so removed from any kind of convincingly human affect or any even like attempt at acting that what you're seeing is something kind of uncanny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
which leans into the dream thing, because it's like, I mean, you know, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman aren't that shitty as far as acting.
No, they're not.
I mean, they could probably do a much better job acting high.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that goes throughout the entire movie. It's like, you know, he's like, this woman was murdered. You know, it's like there's this sleepiness to the whole thing.
So they're both just wearing their underwear, smoking a joint, and they're
fucking clouded.
And they're chewing up in their beautiful Upper West Side bedroom. And Nicole Kidman introduces the idea of like
their daughter's at night school, I'm assuming. Their daughter that they pay attention to for a total of 15 minutes in the 6 days this movie takes place in.
And Nicole Kidman introduces the inciting incident by being like, those 2 women at the party, did you by any chance happen to maybe fuck them? And Tom Cruise is just like, you're crazy. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I would never think about.
Yeah, first there's like a Markov chain reaction between the two where he's like, fuck them. And she's like, fuck them. And that goes on for like 45 minutes.
And, you know, Nicole Kidman's like, oh, you don't think any of the women who come to your office, you know, fantasize about fucking, you know, hot Dr. Hartford? He's just like, no, I'm giving them cancer diagnosis. I'm telling them they're going to die. They're not thinking about fucking. And she's like, oh, really? Why not? And he's like, because women just don't think that way. And then she like goes into like a bizarre laughing fit.
Well, she's like, did you hear the way I just said fuck? It's clearly the only thing I think about.
And then she, you know, you cannot talk rationally to your wife after she's just chewed a blunt of just like kill, just like the high, like
the loudest of the
loudest of the gas you could possibly smoke. Like her brain is through the Stargate. And then she's like, and then Tom Cruise delivers maybe one of my favorite lines in cinema history, where he goes, Alice. And again, he's basically nude in this scene as well,
and
looking
hairless.
Smooth as hell,
totally hairless,
dude.
He doesn't have a single follicle beyond the end of his fucking sideburns.
No blemishes either.
Yeah,
There's nothing
Like
wrong
he's
with that guy's
CGI.
skin. Yeah.
It's the most Xbox 360 I've ever seen a real human being look.
The best my skin looks is like that hairless chimp. Remember that picture? The chimp with his balls out, and he's just like, stop looking at me. That's like me peak, you know, when I'm tanned right in the middle of the summer.
So my favorite line of this movie, and maybe any movie ever made, is Tom Cruise looks at his wife and just says, Alice, this pot is making you aggressive.
And it's true. She was having a horrible pot trip off that straight kill.
I think she might have overdosed on pot.
Yeah.
For sure.
This is the second overdose portrayed in this movie.
And then she has a laughing fit that doesn't look like a laughing fit.
No.
No, it looks like she's having a seizure.
She starts like seizing and grabbing her stomach.
It is. It's like this movie. It's like they're trying to replicate every time they do something. They're replicating a human action they've read about but never actually done.
Mm-hmm.
Like laughing. I kind of know what that's supposed to be, but I've never done it.
See, I would
Getting
buy
high, same thing.
I would buy that like Stanley Kubrick like never smoked weed, but in preparation for this movie, he spent like
Tom Myers wrote that scene.
No, Kubrick like spent probably 6 months reading every piece of literature and studying
tried
marijuana.
pot. Just Kubrick watching Tom's set, taking notes on what pot's like.
All to produce this scene.
Interesting. Cheech.
Yeah, Tom.
Cheech appears to have a higher tolerance.
We're bringing
than
in
Sean.
Tom Myers as a consultant.
Kubrick spent 100.
You need to tell me that you've tried pot. Yes, I have, Tom.
Kubrick spent $100 million on a sound set that looked like colonial Boston, so they could simulate Paul Revere on pot riding through the town.
So this is all like all leading up to Alice's confession, like in response to Tom Cruise, her husband basically saying, women just aren't like men. They don't get horny. They don't think about just fucking guys they see randomly. And she goes, oh, how little you know. And then proceeds to confess to him the stunning, earth-shattering confession that one time, like several years ago when they were on vacation, she saw like a guy in a Navy officer's
A guy who's
uniform.
probably gay. A guy who's like, without question, a gay man that wouldn't fuck her, and he was like, "Hey, girlfriend," and she's like, "I want to have dinner with that guy. He seems fun."
The earth-shattering revelation that one time years ago she saw a guy in a hotel lobby dressed as a Navy officer, maybe not even in the Navy.
Yes, he was standing next to an Indian chief.
I met this man from Finland named Tom.
And then she's like, you have no idea. As soon as I saw this guy, I immediately thought about, God, what's his dick like? I thought about fucking him. And I basically thought in one moment in my head as a little fantasy to myself, yeah, I would definitely leave my husband to get piped down by this Navy officer.
She at one point talks about Tom Cruise as dicky.
Yeah.
A term no human has ever used for the male phallus once.
That marijuana-induced revelation and active aggression.
It's like reefer madness. Like, do not do weed. This is what'll happen. Your wife will just go berserk.
Basically shatters Tom Cruise's psyche.
Yep.
It blows him apart inside in a way that is like so profound. And again, they're playing like an educated married couple that has like a 7 or 8 year old daughter, and this is literally the first time they've ever thought or broached the topic of like even just the possibility of infidelity in a totally imaginary sense. Like, yeah, one time I thought about fucking another guy.
Yeah, it's like I wonder how much of it is derived from that whatever that novel is.
Traumnovel.
Yeah, that came out in fucking 1920.
Yeah.
1926. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like because they had just discovered the vagina.
Yeah.
Like 5 years earlier. Than
right.
That. So they had no real idea of like women.
Yeah.
Women get horny?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
But then it's also like I wonder what the party is in that version of. It's probably just people staying out past 9 p.m.
So as Tom Cruise is, on the bed, by the way, they should definitely be smoking indica. Sativa is what's Alice,
too late at night for that.
Alice, the sativa is making you aggressive. I told you to buy that Girl Scout cookies. We need the indica. It's a body high, not a brain paranoid one. Phone rings. Tom Cruise picks it up. He's got to run out to do more doctor business. He's got to put on one of his best doctor outfits for a patient visit. You know how that. Goes.
No, he's got to.
Yeah.
No, he's the goat. He's getting his nails done. He's dancing around with his dick bouncing around in ASOS shorts.
So he's got to go out to see make another house call on another incredibly rich person